7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey, what's up, fam? Welcome back to another episode of 49 Faithfully. I'm your host, Miriah Lee, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, Steph Sanchez from 49K. Steph, what's up? How you doing? Thank you for joining me.
What's up? Thanks for having me. Always a good time joining your show.
Of course, of course. I know you're a fan favorite, so everybody's been excited for you to come on. Um, Before we get into football, I did want to say, from content creator to content creator, somebody that I've worked with, multiple times now, from homie to homie, whatever you want to call it. But most importantly, from woman to woman, like I see you. I appreciate all the work you're doing. Like it's awesome to see that like you're out there, like doing everything that you're doing, putting out great content. So like it's awesome. So I appreciate and congratulations on anything that you get coming your way.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. That does mean a lot for sure. I mean, you know the struggle of being a woman in this space, and anything I can do to represent. I'm gonna be that person. So I really appreciate that.
Kind of still sticking with that, theme a little bit, being a woman in this, field that we know, really hasn't started letting women into it until, recent. You were at the NFL Combine this year. You're rubbing elbows with some pretty important NFL people. Kind of talk to us a little bit how that was like, how I'm sure there was not too many women there, how that whole situation has been for you. Have you been accepted into the space? Like, how have you been treated? Kind of talk to us a little bit about that.
You know, there are a lot of men there, but surprisingly, there's actually a good amount of women too. And I went into it thinking it was going to be, a bunch of men. And I'm thinking in particular about the meeting spaces, like when we get to talk to the players and it's the media availability. There was a good amount of women there, and so it made me feel pretty good to see other people, other women in the space. But yeah, you're right. I mean, there are a lot of men, and that just comes with the territory, right? As much as I can, I don't really think about that, or I try not to think about that. At the end of the day, I'm here to do something that I enjoy, and that in my mind, that's all I'm doing, right? So I don't really think too much of it. I just go in there to do my thing, because it is easy to get a little intimidated, or what is it, like imposter syndrome, right?
Mm-hmm.
In these spaces, but you just got to focus on what you're doing and do that to the best of your ability. So I really just try not to think about it too much, and thankfully, like I'm was surrounded by men who support me, right? Like
Right.
Jay, Jordan, Brad, all great guys that I'm lucky enough to call my friends. So it's important to have men who
Right.
support you in sports, right? That's how women in sports make it. So yeah, I would say that that makes it easier as well, for sure.
Yeah. That group of guys, like, even to watch them, like to watch, Brad get to cover his, first one and be there for the first time and at the combine and everything. Like, it was just really cool to see all of you guys there. Like I love nothing more than to see people that I look up to, people that I appreciate, people that, are in the same field that I'm in, shine and get to, watch them grind and watch them, I love watching that. So, I may not ever get to do that, may not ever get to go there. So I just have to live it through you guys, and I'm cool with doing that.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun for sure, and getting to do it with them was definitely cool. And you know ultimately, I think it's good for like 49er fans too, right? Because then they get this wide range of like
Yeah.
different perspectives on the same thing. um and it was cool because in those media availability portions where we got to talk to the players, like we were able to divide and conquer. So we got a lot of information about some of these prospects, more than we could have gotten with just one person, right?
Yeah. I talked to I had shown the draft sheet that you made on here and talked a little bit about how you guys were doing that so that, and how you guys all came together and put, who you talked to on there. You can see everybody who, contributed and everything. Like, that's awesome to see. And it makes so much sense, like, duh, why don't more people think of that, but it seems like more people, I don't know if they don't want to work together with other people, they rather have the shine or like, I don't know. So I think that's why it's cool that you have that little group of friends, that you're able to go and you guys are able to do that. Cause I don't think a lot of people do have that,
Yeah, no, for real. I mean, we do like bounce ideas off of each other and things like that. So it's I'm fortunate enough to call them my friends for sure.
What was your best experience if you had to like pick one thing from there, from the whole, how many ever days you spent there?
I mean, it had to be meeting John Lynch. I mean, and him knowing the Nick Bosa impression. Like, he already knew who I was before I even shook his hand. Like, that to me was surreal. I couldn't even believe that. I knew that the Nick Bosa videos kind of blew up, but not to that extent, right? Like,
Right.
I didn't know that, John Lynch and Adam Peters would know about it. Nick Bosa knows about it. And like, the fact that he had me do like the impersonation right there on the spot to send.
He did?
Yes, to send
wow.
to Nick. To send to Nick. He literally sent the clip to him. So I'm like, yo, this is crazy. I couldn't believe it. There was really nothing that can top that for sure.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I must have missed that. I didn't hear about that. So that's awesome. So now Nick definitely knows who you are, which I'm sure then he sent it, and who knows who else John Lynch shared it with, so right. Yeah, that's awesome. I think that Nick impersonation, I remember the first one and it blew up like fast.
Right.
Like, and I was like, dang, like to see, like, I would look at it and see it like come back around, cycle through Twitter again and have like 1,000 more, retweets and likes. And I'm like, holy shit. Then the next time, like so much more. And it just like blew up from there.
Yeah.
When did you even start doing that?
Well, so I thought it was funny that this past season, we heard that Nick Bosa for the first time was starting to give speeches to the team. Mm-hmm. And I just found that so hilarious because you hear how he talks. Like, if you ever hear him talk, it's like, how is this guy giving like speeches to pump people up? So I kind of just did it as a joke, and it was funny, right? Like, it kind of blew up. I guess I sort of sound like him enough that, people agreed that it was funny. So that's really where it came from, though. The fact that he was doing these speeches every Saturday to the team. And I just found that hilarious.
Yeah, that's funny. So you've got to talk to a lot of college, athletes, guys that are coming out into the draft. You've even, there, and you've started interviewing them on your channel as well. Out of, and it don't have to be somebody you personally interviewed. You could have just, overheard the interview where you were there or whatever. But who, if you had to pick one of your favorite interviewees out of all the guys that you got to talk to, listen to, who would it be?
Just based on like personality and like the interview alone, mm-hmm. I want to say he is offensive lineman out of Troy, Jake Andrews. He was great. He was probably my best interview. He just gave me some really good in-depth answers to my questions. And, I got to ask him, a number of questions. So it was just a nice exchange. And I have that interview on my YouTube, or at least like a portion of it, because YouTube only let me put like a minute in the shorts.
Oh, okay.
But it is on there. And I definitely liked him. He left a good impression on me.
I have to check that out. I don't know. I don't even know if I've heard of him. Maybe. There's just so many names, and like,
There's
like
so many.
I decided this year I'm not, well, I did this last year too. And then I kind of cheated a little bit and ended up going against myself. So this year I'm sticking to it that I wasn't going to get into the draft, because then I fall in love with all these players that we're never going to get. They're going to go on, enemies teams, going to be on the Seahawks. And then, I'm just sick of that. So The
Yeah, it is a
49ers
little
never take,
heartbreaking.
they never take who we think, that none of us think that they're going to take, right? We do thousands of mock drafts, the 49ers fans do out there, and none of them are ever right, So
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
so
I'm not
true.
falling in love with these players anymore. But
It's
it
so
was
true.
hard. It's hard, because I want to watch all your guys' content, and then it's hard not to, because you get to see these players' personalities, you get to see, the off the field with the on the field. And now that's, I think, such a big advantage for us all with you guys being there and covering all this stuff, is that there's so much more information out there to the faithful, to the 49ers content creators. I talked earlier about that draft sheet that you made. Like, that's been so useful, And I think, something that's really cool about that is because you can look at it and see like where the 49ers minds are at, right? Like, you can obviously see they've talked to a ton of tight ends,
Yeah.
more than,
Yep.
so obviously they're looking at tight end, right? Like, this is stuff that we didn't have, like, just so right at our fingertips in in years prior to this. So that sheet's been awesome to have. Like, I appreciate you guys for making that so much.
Yeah, I mean, that's the type of content I've always kind of, because let's face it, like the draft this time is kind of like a dead period, but there's a lot of people who like draft content or interested in prospects, and like I felt like there was a greater need to just like have some of that out there, and some of these names that are on the list like don't, you'll never hear about them, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, reported. You'll hear the big names that they met with the 49ers, but some of these guys, like, I've just messaged them and I kind of ask, right? So those are the guys who maybe lesser known, but you're going to have on the list that no one else has reported. So that was kind of the idea. Also, like the pro days, I've been keeping track of all that so far. So today was a crazy pro day. There were 16 of them.
Holy smokes. Yeah, I had
Yeah.
seen that John Lynch was at the Stanford Pro Day earlier.
Yeah.
I did hear a little bit about a wide receiver from there earlier that I wanted to ask you about, if you've heard anything about, know anything about. And that was Elijah Higgins.
Yeah, I saw him at the Senior Bowl, and he's huge. He's a big-bodied receiver. Yeah, he is out of Stanford. I don't know if he's met with the 49ers, but John Lynch was at the pro day today, so he got a good look at him along with a number of different Stanford guys that personally I do like as well. Like I like Michael Wilson a lot.
Yeah.
They also have a corner. Caillou Blue Kelly is his name. So he was out there as well. They got a quarterback that if the 49ers want to take a quarterback late, they have him as well. So there's some good, interesting players coming out of Stanford this year. But Higgins, yeah, I saw him at the Senior Bowl. He was cool. The size definitely stands out. The one thing I would say, I haven't watched a lot of his game film, but watching him at the Senior Bowl, I feel like he didn't really use his size like to the best of his ability. Like, when you're that big, you should just be overpowering everyone.
Yeah.
And he was kind of getting, some corners were winning their reps against him, which, yeah. So,
yeah, because that's what I heard people are talking about, maybe like him turning into a tight end because of his size. But if you don't know how to use his size, I don't know. Like, I'm looking for the 49ers. Like, I want them to get that big bodied, like, I know Juwan Jennings, should be that guy, but more like I don't know, just like this big body that's going to be out there fighting for the balls, that's going to rip the ball out of the air if they need
like
to.
A Bolden, Anquan Bolden. Yeah.
Like a bully.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think the 49ers are also looking at wide receivers. They're definitely going to draft the wide receiver. And I don't know if Higgins is going to be that guy. We're talking about tight ends as well. Definitely have their eyes on a tight end. But yeah, I feel like for wide receivers, they Kyle Shanahan likes to have, the agile, shifty kind of dudes. So I think we'll probably see something along that style of who Kyle Shanahan typically likes.
If you could draft position, like the needs for the 49ers don't matter, and where they're drafted doesn't matter. So if you could pick any player that you want, basically, and draft them, who would it be?
Like let's just say they had a
Anybody.
first round
Yep.
pick or something.
Yep.
I really like Adebaware. I think that's how you say his name. Out of Northwestern, he's a beast, a defensive lineman. I don't know. I just get excited about guys like that and imagining what they would look like on the 49ers. I feel like he's just a beast. So he would definitely be up there for me.
Yeah. I saw you tweeting about us picking up a defensive end. You're thinking the 49ers, are you thinking the 49ers are done in free agency? Do you think they still do make a move for that spot? Are you looking to get somebody like a bigger name that's, a faster guy, that like not Drake Jackson, or what are you feeling for that spot opposite Bosa?
Well, the 49ers have a little over $6 million, I think, in cap right now. And you also have to reserve some of that for the draft picks, right?
Yep.
So they don't have a lot of money to work with. So that will make things difficult. So I think they're really going to just go bargain shopping on these defensive ends. Cause I think they need to bring in at least 2 other guys before the draft, ideally, either before or after. You can pick up someone else who's still a free agent after. That's always a possibility. But yeah, I definitely think with some of the guys that they've lost at edge, that they're going to want to bring some guys in too. So yeah, I think Austin Bryant out of Detroit, he's an option because they're visiting, or he's visiting the 49ers. So that's definitely an option. It would be nice to have like a speed rusher, right? Mm-hmm. Opposite Bosa, because that's what they had with D Ford, and we saw in that limited time just how impactful that was. So that would go a long way. Austin Bryant, he seems to have those qualities. He's underperformed, but that's exactly what they look for, like Chris Kosterick. And especially if you're bargain shopping for defensive ends, you kind of just have to take a chance on the guys that have the athleticism and the tools, but haven't quite put it all together yet. So you're not going to really recognize some of these names. A lot of people were saying, like, who is this guy? He only has like 4 sacks.
Yeah.
But you think about what Chris Kosterick has done with guys who haven't been anybody before they came to the 49ers. And the 49ers also, like I said, they don't have that much money. So what do you want them to do? They can't spend that much money on defensive ends. So you're going to get who the 49ers get, and you're going to like it.
Yeah. Alberto had asked something about, them drafting a wide receiver with, we know they have 3 third round picks. So if they were to use one of those picks to draft a wide receiver, if it would send, or maybe move up to draft a wide receiver, or whatever they decide to do, if it would send some kind of message to Brandon Ayuk. And we just seen him come out with a tweet yesterday, I think, right? Mm-hmm. Talking about, of course, I don't remember word for word. But that obviously, like, he's still the guy, even though he's the whatever option on a run first team, and, and kind of, that he's ready for year 4. And I don't know, you could take it as maybe, I don't know if the 49ers aren't picking up his 5th year option, if maybe he thought he was going to get paid this season and they offered him nothing, because we know they don't usually, but what kind of message would you think that I mean, I honestly don't think it sends any kind of message to him personally. I think they do need wide receivers, so what, I mean, and especially a 3rd round, like we know Ayuk was drafted in the 1st. I think if they moved up, if they, traded all this picks and whatever to move up into the 1st to draft a wide receiver, maybe.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, and you can interpret what Brandon Ayuk said however you want.
Yeah,
it is possible that the 49ers sent him, their initial offer. And anytime in negotiations, you always start with your lowest offer.
Exactly.
Like that's just how it works. But we've now heard, I think, a number of times of the 49ers doing that, and it rubs players the wrong way. Like George Kittle has talked about it clearly. The same thing happened with Deebo Samuel. So, like, this is just how it goes. So if that was in response to Brandon Ayuk, for one, I wouldn't overreact to it. too, if they do draft one relatively early, I don't necessarily think it sends a message to Brandon Ayuk specifically. If anything, the 49ers, they're going to have to, probably move on from either Ayuk or Deebo Samuel, whether that be via trade or, what have you. But the reality is they won't be able to afford both wide receivers being on an extension, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of them is going to have to go. So the 49ers, in preparation for that, are going to have to draft one relatively high, or, maybe fourth round or something like that. I don't know. But, it makes sense that they're looking at the position because they are going to need it. And especially if Brandon Ayuk is looking at, the numbers now and thinking, this is not going to do it, then they'll definitely probably only have to pick one over the other at some point.
Kind of let's switch over to tight end for a minute. I had said, how it looks obviously that the 49ers are talking to a lot of tight ends. I keep hearing that this is a tight end heavy draft. The 49ers just re-signed Ross Dwelly, putting them back to 3 tight ends on the roster right now. Yeah. What were your initial thoughts when you saw that? And I believe they'll still draft a tight end, but do you think that changes their plans in drafting a tight end?
I don't think it changes their plans at all. They're definitely still going to draft a tight end. And I think it might be with one of those 3rd round picks, assuming that they keep those picks, right? Yeah, I still think they do. I think training camp last season, they had 5 tight ends. So, you look at that, they still have 2 more they can potentially add, right? So I think it's more so hey, I mean, you were still out there in the market. You want to come back? He is kind of just sitting there on their lap, right? So it was kind of just something that I think worked out for both sides. So I wouldn't look too far into it. It doesn't mean he's going to make the 53. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah, the 49ers definitely still going to draft a tight end, and they should.
What do you think it is with Dwelly? Because, we see him fill in, when Juice has been out, he's filled in at fullback and done fine, We see him fill in for Kittle when he's out. Obviously, we know his blocking isn't great. But he seems to have great hands, but I just feel like Kyle, I don't know. He's like one of Kyle's doghouse guys, or we see him fill in and it's like, okay, we're not going to see you for another 6 months.
I was talking about Dwelly on my podcast on Monday, and someone compared him to like the Dante Johnson of tight ends, that he'll just always be here. I thought that was hilarious, but I don't know. I don't know what it is. Is it because like he does some of the things that they like well? Like obviously they value blocking, so if he's a good blocker and he understands the system, maybe he's a student of the game and, really just gets Kyle Shanahan's system. That's one way into Kyle's heart, right? So I thought that could be it. I really don't know. I don't hate it. Like I don't mind it. He's been here. He's, been able to come in a pinch whenever, Kittle has gotten hurt along with Charlie Warner. But yeah, I think we're all ready for something new and someone a little more impactful, right?
And do you think the 49ers, they go for a more pass catching tight end, that might necessarily isn't that great at blocking, or do you think they're going to be looking for a blocking tight end that then maybe can catch?
I don't think they'll be looking for a blocking tight end per se, but like I do think they would value someone who can do both, which is available. There are guys, this is a huge deep tight end class. I think that's available for them, like throughout. And there's talent that they can get in the 3rd round. There's talent that they'll be able to get, in the 5th round or later potentially, who can kind of fit that mold of, I think, what they like. So this is the perfect draft to address tight end. And I don't think they have to settle for either, honestly.
Melissa, thank you. She posted a link to one of your Bosa impressions.
Thank you, Melissa.
So everybody can check it out. And then make sure that if you guys aren't subscribed to Steph, that you guys do so. She has a lot of great content. She's doing a lot of great interviews over there with draft prospects. A lot of guys that normally, you wouldn't hear much about, and you're bringing light to them as well. So that's pretty awesome.
I try. I mean, it's awesome for me to get to know some of these players, and my hope is that one of these guys will maybe become a Niner, right? Like that's
Yeah.
always the hope. That might not happen. I mean, you mentioned the chances of that are slim, but it's cool anyway to just give them like a platform and get to know them as people beyond like what they do on the field. It's been cool.
Yeah. One more thing, and then we'll let you get out of here. You're the 49ers GM. You have picks 99, 101, and 102, and you're staying put. Who are you drafting with those 3 picks?
Oh God. Well, okay. I'm only like, oh no, I don't know what to do because I'm like the worst person at like gauging where players would go. I am the worst. Like, don't ask me what round is this guy gonna go. I have no idea. I will say
that you could have your pick,
Yeah, like if some of my guys like fall to those picks. I love JL Skinner. He's a safety out of Boise State, and he was getting a lot of buzz, coming at like after the combine and all that, or heading into the combine, but then he tore his pec, so he couldn't participate. And I feel like that's a opportunity. Like he might potentially slide a little bit, but he's very talented. He's someone I would love for the 49ers. I mean, they only have Deshaun Gibson for one more year, right? So I feel like he's one guy who they would potentially target that, I would like. Let's see. I'm like looking at a list of guys here as well. Okay. And I don't know where these guys would go. Yeah, like I said, Adebaware, I think he's going to go in the first round. That's kind of what it's looking like. Let's see. I know there's a couple of tight ends that I think are one of the top, like Sam Laporta.
Mm-hmm.
He's one who can go kind of early, maybe the second, maybe the early third. So, if he did fall to them, I would love that. Former Iowa, the Iowa connection, that'd be crazy. Let's see. And I have one more guy. Okay, I could pick. Probably, I mean, an offensive lineman, right? I mean, they need a tackle. Who's one of those? I'm trying to think of a tackle that's like would go pretty early. I know a lot of people talking about Blake Freeland. I feel like he can be available after. So I'm not. Juice Scruggs getting a lot of Bergeron, Matthew Bergeron. I like Bergeron. He's a tackle. He's been training with Joe Staley. He's been getting a lot of buzz since the Senior Bowl too. So, yeah, that'd probably be my other one if I could pick.
Okay, good choices, especially for me putting you on the spot. Do you think that the 49ers are going to draft Robbie Gould's replacement, or do you think they end up, because he's still out there, right? We haven't heard. The last I heard was he was in talks with the 49ers and
yeah, I know, the crickets.
Yeah.
You know what? I think there's still way for him to come back. I honestly do, because it could be the same situation like Dwelly, right? Hey, like you're still out there. You want to just come back? Okay. So I think it could be a similar situation. There aren't a lot of like teams in the kicker market, right? And I think some of those teams may look at drafting a kicker, but not a lot of kickers have gone on to get a second contract with the same team that drafted them, right? So there's that risk. I don't think the 49ers should take that risk. They're not really in a position to, bring in a rookie in this like win now window that they have. I think if you have the option, and of course, if it fits within the parameters of what you're able to spend, because we talked about the fact 49ers are strapped for cash. If all those things are well, then there's an opportunity for him to come back for sure. I personally would like that. There's also Pinheiro at the former Panthers kicker. That's an option that I think would be a little cheaper than Robbie Gould. So if Robbie Gould doesn't want to come back, then I feel like that's still an option. But it's good. It's a slow market for the kickers.
All right, Steph, I appreciate you so much for coming on. I know you're a busy woman these days. Let the people know where to find you, what you got going on, all that good stuff.
I am on Steph 49K, all of my social platforms, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. TikTok is where you find the Bose impressions. I post them on my Twitter too, but TikTok's the place. Yeah, and then on my Twitter, you guys have been hearing Miriah reference the draft sheet. It's pinned to my Twitter. So if you guys are curious about that, the 49ers actually, we just got news that they met with a Utah State quarterback, Logan Bonner. So I just added that on here. So if you guys are curious who the 49ers have met with, what pro days they're attending, make sure you guys check that out. But I appreciate you, Miriah, for having me on. It's always fun.
Yep. I'm sure I'll see you soon. See you around soon. I'm sure we'll be on Grant soon. All that good stuff.
Oh, yeah. So. That was fun.
Yeah. So I'll talk to you soon. I'm going to hang out with the people for a little bit. So I'll let you get out of here. Thank you again so much.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Peace.
What's up, chat? I didn't get to say really what's up to you guys. Let me take this thing off my face real quick. Want to say what's up to my people before I get out of here. You're blocked. You're blocked by who? By Steph? What's up, Bash, Ty, Melissa, David, Rohan, Emiliano, JDLR was the birthday boy yesterday. Willie, what's up? Bryant. I know I've seen a few of you sneak in. Paul, appreciate you stopping in. Paul said he was going to watch it on replay, but he was even here for the live thing. How about that? Eric, I see you all. I appreciate you guys being here. John V. But yeah, I wanted to do something quick, get Steph on here because I know she's put in a lot of work, covering the NFL Combine, getting draft prep and all that. So I thought it was good to have her on, pick her mind on a few people because I believe me and TL tomorrow, we're going to do our show at 3:30 Pacific time. And I think we're going to do a mock draft and we're going to try to draft players for the 49ers that the 49ers have actually met with. So people that are on that draft sheet that I keep talking about that Steph and all them put together. So we're going to try to draft, not just pull out players out of our asses that the 49ers haven't even talked to. We're going to try to use, players that they've talked to and try to draft that way. So we're going to try to tie it all in together because, like Steph talked about, and, a lot of you make content of your own. This is the slow time. So we'll start getting into draft season. So we'll probably do some mock draft tomorrow. Talk about the Ayuk situation. I got to get into that because Ayuk's my guy. And I'm going to be very upset to have to watch him play for another team. So we'll get into that tomorrow with TL. But yeah, I just wanted to say what's up to you guys. Give you guys a little early show with Steph. Make sure everybody's subscribed over there. Like Ty said, who isn't subscribed to her? But you never know. There's some people that they don't know. So the info to her Twitter, the link to her Twitter and the link to her YouTube are in the description of this video. So if you watch it back on replay and you aren't subscribed to her, you're not following her, please make sure you do so. She does great work, great content. She's putting in so much work, grinding out there. She deserves more shine and more eyes on her platform than what she has, because she's putting a lot of work into putting great content out there. So make sure you guys show her some love. Check out her stuff. As always, you guys know I appreciate you. What's up, Rick? We're getting out of here. Alberto, appreciate you. But yeah, I'll be back tomorrow with TL at, I think it's 3:30. I'm so bad at remembering times, guys. My memory is shot. Well, don't get old, because once you hit 40, it's all downhill from there. I hit 40 and my memory is just like, whew, forget about it. The body been broken, but now the mind's broken too. So it's hell of a thing getting old, guys. All right, I'm out of here. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Everybody have a great rest of your Wednesday, great and safe evening, a wonderful night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. See ya, see ya. Remember that see ya wouldn't want to be ya. I'll be back tomorrow. And that's what I was thinking of too, Annie. I was going to bust down song, but nobody wants to hear me singing. Real quick on Annie. That was my favorite. Annie was my favorite thing when I was a little kid. I carried around the Annie doll and everything. Like, I watched that Annie movie 60,000 times. Like, I know that movie word for word. So yeah, that's what it reminded me of too. All right, I'm leaving. Bye. Gangsta. I put the bang. What did Ryan say? What was it? I put the bang bang in 49er gang. I don't know, some shit like that. I forget it now. Jerry, I'm leaving. I've been saying bye for freaking 30 minutes already. All right. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.